Hello and welcome. I'm Miraj and you are watching Take It Out. This last week it appeared that the entire world's attention was focused on Davos, Switzerland. Now Davos is a really unique event. It's the kind of place where you can run into a startup investor, a billionaire philanthropist, a Hollywood celebrity and a famous chef at the same place. WION was there in full strength. We'll bring you all the stories from Davos, primarily how AI is changing the world. Away from Davos, we'll look at how autonomous technology is making its way into warfare. The United Kingdom just flew an autonomous helicopter, not just a little drone, but an entire helicopter. The American military has unveiled the M1E3 Abrams Tank, which is fortified against aerial attack and has controls that are inspired by gaming so that the younger generation doesn't have too much of a steep learning curve when it comes to handling the tank. A global convention on a mountaintop in one of the prettiest countries of the world. Davos is such a spectacle. 2026 was no different. WION was there in full force. We had discussions on the ground. We had discussions at the studio. Whether it is security in a digital world or reimagining the workplace, we spoke to participants and guests. Here are some of the best stories from Davos 2026. For a week, Davos turned into a meeting point for the world's most consequential tech conversations, where politicians, CEOs, and engineers didn't just talk about the global economy, but the future of the digital world itself. From how artificial intelligence is being built, governed, and deployed, to the pressing question of how to secure the data and infrastructure we all depend on. This year's World Economic Forum sent a clear message. Technology is no longer a side story to global power. Here's a look at the tech themes that defined Davos 2026 and why AI and cybersecurity are no longer just industry issues, but central to how societies, states, and markets now function. It's difficult to see the picture when you're inside the frame. The 2020s will go down in history as a time when artificial intelligence entered the workplace.
We're a wonderful, incredibly complicated machine, but we're just a big neural net. And there's no reason why an artificial neural net shouldn't be able to do everything we can do.
And here we are for the first time, really in human history, with something that's going to be far more intelligent than us.
This is really one of the first major times in history a new computing model has been developed and created.
A time in which artificial intelligence began taking giant strides towards acquiring human-like cognition. AI imbibed all our intelligence, our skills, and even our prejudices. It empowered those who chose to work with it and amplified their abilities.
I find it very cool personally, and I'm a fan of this new technology because it just opens a new gate for all the creative things that you could do with it.
Now the paradigm is shifting again as AI moves up the ranks. What happens when AI is no longer a team member but makes all the calls, from productivity to creativity, from hiring to opportunity? It's about how we see our place in the new AI-human shared workplace. And the very nature of what we consider work.
What I'm getting at is that I don't think we should let the technology scare us. I think you don't become a slave to technology.
WION was on the ground at Davos to cover all the latest updates from the forum and garner different perspectives.
Well, AI has become part and parcel of our lives, and I'm standing just near the AI house, which has become a showstopper in a sense here at the World Economic Forum in Davos. With me are people who are keen to go inside. Ma'am, starting with you, what's your sense about AI, usage of AI, and going to AI house?
First of all, now it's the most important topic, I think, because AI changing the vision of how we create the things. And changes are so dramatic that we need to stay in touch, like what is happening and what is actually already developed and what we could, which direction we are moving.
While AI knowingly or unknowingly is impacting our lives in different ways, one of the most crucial concerns about it is the impact it will have on the global workforce.
I think it's somewhere in between. It's certainly going to be the useful AI assistants that help us do many of the things that our entry-level colleagues would do. That is worrying if you're someone who's just starting out in the workforce. No one really knows the net impact. Will it create more jobs than it destroys? We don't know.
The workplace as we know it has changed, but the change has not been brought about by people alone, and not by machines either, but by both working together. The idea isn't about artificial intelligence replacing human beings, it's about collaboration.
Actually, the people who are making the biggest impact in the workplace right now with AI are those who are building systems where the AI doesn't just produce content for them, but they're working alongside the AI. And we see Anthropic release Claude Co-work last week, and it's just another sign that this is the direction that we're heading in.
However, as work becomes more digital, another challenge emerges: security. In a connected world, every system, every platform, and every smart tool can be a potential entry point for cyber threats.
One of the few lucky draw winners of our weekly contest.
You have won a $100 gift card.
I need your details to resolve a banking issue. Could you please come on a WhatsApp video call?
The smartphone, a repository of your life. Your photos, bank accounts, addresses, phone numbers, your chats, your location history, your entire identity. From phishing attacks, spyware, deepfakes, surveillance, and now a deluge of AI-powered malware, the smartphone is a primary target for cyber criminals. And suddenly, it's not just your Instagram that's gone, it's your money, your credit, often your reputation. Add spyware, stalkerware, leaked passwords, SIM swaps, deepfake voice scams, and your personal data is all over the dark web. Now, zoom out. For companies, a cyber attack isn't a bad day. It's an existential reckoning. A ransomware gang hits your servers, your systems freeze, operations stop. Customer data gets held hostage. Then comes the ultimatum: pay up or we publish everything. Corporations don't just run on people and buildings anymore, they run on cloud infrastructure, on third-party vendors, on invisible software dependencies. One weak link, one misconfigured server, one compromised update, and an entire supply chain can buckle. From individuals to companies to countries, cybersecurity isn't a tech issue anymore, it's national strategy. Governments are now thinking in terms of digital sovereignty, the ability to control where your citizens' data lives, who owns the infrastructure beneath it.
Americans can use TikTok, but actually use it with more confidence than they had in the past, because their data is going to be secure and it's not going to be used as a propaganda weapon against our fellow citizens. We're very excited about it. We appreciate the cooperation of everybody involved, and it's a big day.
And that's why countries want local cloud servers, local data centers, and digital IDs.
Let me spell that out. You will not be able to work in the United Kingdom if you do not have digital ID. It's as simple as that.
It's also why security now extends into the physical world, into the semiconductor race, the chip wars, rare earth minerals, trusted hardware, even the geopolitics of who makes your routers, your phones, your satellites. Because in a digital world, security isn't just about stopping hackers and bad actors. Technology doesn't differentiate between a criminal and a saint. It only amplifies human intent. In this world, security isn't optional. It's the price we pay of being connected. Governments around the world are strengthening digital defenses and tightening security to prevent cybercriminals from getting in. But prevention has its limits. Once a breach occurs, response becomes far more complex, and that's where global cooperation takes center stage. From intelligence sharing to cross-border coordination, international partnerships are increasingly critical because cybercrime doesn't respect borders, neither can the fight against it be restricted to borders.
We can make our systems more secure. We can create more strong policies. We can make it more challenging for the criminals to hack it or to compromise any system for any potential data breach. That is something I think all the governments are trying to achieve. But once the incident has happened, then we have very little to do as a post-mortem for sure. And that's where these geopolitical associations, Interpol, communications, AMLAT, they come into the picture. Whether we can actually work collectively and as a group to counter these kind of criminals.
As AI-generated voices and deepfake videos become increasingly realistic, even the most familiar digital cues can no longer be taken at face value. What once helped confirm identity, voice, appearance, even live video is now being manipulated with alarming ease. And that's forcing a rethink of how trust is established online.
But information that you put online, your voice is probably not something that is something you can use to prove who you are anymore. And so we're going to have to continue to evolve the technology. There are new ways to authenticate individuals to make sure it's really the person who you think you're talking to on a video chat. That's what we have to get to.
From the promise of human-AI collaboration to the growing risks of cybercrime and synthetic media, leaders at Davos 2026 agreed on one thing: innovation without trust is not sustainable. The challenge now is balance between speed and safety, automation and accountability, progress and protection, because the choices being made today about how AI is built, secured and governed will define not just the future of technology, but the future of work, security and society itself. To continue Tech It Out's tradition of bringing you properly quirky stories, here's one about a robotic hand. Now this hand apparently detaches itself from its arm, scurries about, does a bunch of tasks, comes back and reattaches itself. Talk to the hand, people.
A team of researchers have developed a robotic hand that doesn't just move, it roams. And it challenges everything we thought we knew about how robotic hands should work. This robotic hand can detach from its arm, complete a task and then return to where it belongs. The sight may remind some of Thing from the Addams Family or Wednesday, but this is no fantasy. This is real technology. The robotic hand can crawl, grab objects beyond normal reach, and then reattach itself to a robotic arm. It is a radical shift from how robotic hands have been designed until now. For decades, most robotic hands have tried to imitate the human hand. But the team behind this design says that very approach is the problem. They believe the human hand, remarkable as it is, comes with limitations.
Actually, human hands, we have many limitations. We have the lack of symmetry in the hand, and the hand we can only perform a limited number of tasks due to the structure, the constraint, the limitation of our hands. So what if we can release those constraints and make the robotic hand to go beyond the functionality of a human hand, even more dexterous?
The core thinking behind this design of the robotic hand is, why have just one thumb? What if every finger could act like one? The team designed a hand where any finger can become a gripping digit, allowing it to hold objects from multiple angles with greater stability and control. In other words, the robotic hand is not copying us, it is going beyond us.
Air density and air pressure have a great bearing on how easy or how difficult it is to fly a chopper. If you speak to Indian Air Force chopper pilots in Siachen, they will tell you that the air is so thin that it is really quite hazardous to fly there. Now, the UK Navy has introduced an entirely autonomous chopper to patrol the world's oceans and also to keep track of submarines, essentially go places where they don't want a human to be flying a chopper into. It's quite a sight. Have a look.
UK has successfully flown its first full-sized autonomous helicopter, marking a major milestone in the use of uncrewed systems in maritime warfare. Known as Proteus, the technology demonstrator completed its maiden flight at Predenack Airfield in Cornwall, with a 6-minute test that confirmed the helicopter's basic flight and autonomous systems. Proteus has been designed to carry out high-risk missions, from tracking submarines to patrolling contested waters and tracking underwater vessels, at a time of rising tensions in the North Atlantic. Naval planners see it as a key part of future operations where uncrewed aircraft fly alongside manned helicopters in what is described as a hybrid air wing. This approach could place Proteus at the center of UK's Atlantic Bastion strategy, designed to counter evolving threats and protect both the UK and NATO allies across the North Atlantic. At the core of Proteus is a network of advanced sensors and onboard computers, powered by sophisticated software that allows the aircraft to interpret its surroundings. Instead of a pilot in the cockpit, these systems enable Proteus to understand the environment, process data in real time, and respond accordingly. But critically and crucially, it is also capable of making certain flight decisions on its own, a key step towards true autonomy. Proteus is among the world's first full-sized autonomous helicopters and a testbed for how future naval air power could operate.
Now, the American military has just unveiled the latest iteration of its famous M1 Abrams tank. It really brought back memories for me. My father was in the Armored Corps of the Indian military, tankmen, and during the Desert Storm in Iraq, which is when the M1 Abrams sort of made its name, we remember seeing visuals of this tank and sort of marveling at how full of amenities and fancy gadgets it was. It had air conditioning, a lot of stuff that the older Russian T-55s and T-72s did not. But anyway, this latest iteration apparently takes it a step further. It has controls that are based on gaming controls so that younger generation soldiers have less of a steep learning curve when they learn how to operate the tank. And it's also much better equipped against aerial threats. Now we know after Ukraine that drone warfare has really changed the landscape, so to speak, for tanks on the battlefield. And the M1 is the latest iteration to take the battle back to the drones. Have a look.
For more than 4 decades, military tanks have defined American military power. It has rolled through deserts, shattered enemy lines, and rewritten the rulebook of modern warfare. Now, as battlefields grow deadlier and technology redefines combat, the United States is unveiling what comes next, not a replacement, a reinvention. This is the M1E3 Abrams. Designed in the 1970s to defeat Soviet armor, it quickly became the gold standard of main battle tanks. From Desert Storm to Iraq and Afghanistan, the Abrams built a reputation for survivability, firepower, and sheer presence.
The M1A2 Abrams is the best tank in the world. It is the most lethal tank in the world, and it has been since the 70s. But imagine if the iPhone, after the first iteration, had never added anything else. It just did text messaging and it just did phones, and it was the best in the world at doing texting and phone calls, but it never had the App Store. This has the App Store.
But today's battlefield is no longer just about armor and firepower. It is about speed, data, and dominance in every domain.
When we did this, we didn't want to change things that worked, right? So how the protection scheme works and how it moves and all those things. But in a connected world, in a world of drones, we absolutely had to advance what we consider our open systems architecture. It needs a digital front end.
Modern wars have exposed new vulnerabilities. Low-cost drones, loitering munitions, and precision-guided weapons can now threaten even the heaviest platforms. At the same time, fuel-hungry systems and heavy logistics chains have become a liability in fast-moving conflicts. The US Army says the next tank had to be lighter, smarter, and designed for a connected battle space. The result is the new generation of M1E3 Abrams tank. The version unveiled by the US Army is a prototype, designed to demonstrate new technologies ahead of rigorous testing and future production decisions. The M1E3 features a hybrid electric powertrain that reduces fuel consumption, lowers heat and noise signatures, and extends operational range. The tank is more agile off-road, with improved handling across tough terrain.
In the current warfare, mobility is safety. There's a misperception that the tank is supposed to sit idly by and protect you from everything. What we have seen in Ukraine, what we have seen in the Middle East is that if you are sitting too long, you will be targeted and you will not survive. So being able to have 50% reduction in fuel need for the same mission profile, that's part of safety and survivability.
AI-assisted systems help the crew identify and prioritize threats, cutting decision time in high-pressure combat environments.
What I think is truly magical about the M1E3 is, as we think about what robots bring to the battlefield, as we think about what drones bring to the battlefield, this tank is connected so that the crew inside of it can leverage robotics, can leverage drones from the safety of the tank, and they don't have to be the first thing in the fight.
According to the US Army officials, the controls feel familiar to a generation raised on gaming consoles, making the tank faster to learn and easier to operate.
You have customizable screens in your cars now. You have sensors that provide safety features. You have things that augment the driver. And then the OEMs can monitor the progress, or if you needed to connect to somebody in an emergency in 911. All those wonderful features, that's what changes on the tank going forward. We can now take derivatives of all that technology and put it in the hands of soldiers.
The M1E3 is engineered for a battlefield where the biggest threats may come from above. Counter-drone and active protection systems form the first line of defense, intercepting incoming attacks before they can strike the armor. Robotic and uncrewed systems can be deployed directly from the tank, allowing crews to scout, survey, and engage without exposing themselves to fire.
America's next first battle should not be humans first. It should be us trading blood for steel, and it should be our robots going in first. We should be protecting our warfighters with technology like the E3 so that as many drones and robots as possible can be controlled from something like this.
The crew experience has also been transformed. Digital controls and modern interfaces make the tank more intuitive to operate, reducing training time and easing the transition for younger soldiers.
That's all the time we have in this episode of Tech It Out. If you'd like to watch more stories from Davos, I would urge you to go onto WION's YouTube page and check out our expansive playlist on Davos. Some enterprising people this year started a new social network. They're calling it W, no apparent reference to X, but of course there is. People feel that there's so much misinformation in the world that we need social media networks where people are authenticated, there are no bots, and there is less misinformation. On that happy note, have a great weekend. I shall sign out. Keep watching WION, follow us on YouTube, and have a cracking weekend, people.